I studied Stanislavsky when I was in college, but I don't recall a lot of it. But I always remember when we opened our London school and I worked with people in Europe, a lot of times I'd be like, oh, what's your training background? And all of them would reference Stanislavsky. And with my limited understanding of it, except for a lot of those terms we all grew up with, super objective, through line, character, spine, beats, all these things that may or may not be necessary. I'll unfold this in a second. I was a little bit skeptical, but I've been doing a deeper dive in sort of the real work of Stanislavsky, and I came across this passage in this book called Beyond Stanislavsky, because the head of our Vancouver school was telling me, hold for the truck, was telling me that the real work of Stanislavsky is very similar to how we have been working at the studio for years. And so I read this last night and it blew me away because I never thought about it this way, you guys. So many of you know the English translation called An Actor Prepares. But what it was really called is the actor, work on himself, which I love. So already, lost in translation, I'm not a Russian linguist, but the idea of an actor preparing for something as opposed to what I'm discovering more about Stanislavsky is it was all about yourself, working on yourself, figuring your shit out, bringing that stuff to, quote unquote, the character. It had almost less to do with the character and more to do with why do we hold ourselves back? All the things that we talk about, I feel like I'm a broken record, but it's a great reminder. But then I went on to read that in the 30s, when during Stalin's time, this is an interesting history lesson, everything became about the upholding of the USSR's sort of dogma, which was anti-religion, anti-spirit, anti-independent thinking, anti-psychology, anti-soul, the words of the exploration of what it means to be human. They did away with that. And here she says, it was all about anything that was exploring personality was considered blasphemous against the Soviet doctrine, and anything about spirit or soul were less welcome. Higher consciousness gave way to, so they extrapolated those, what Stanislavsky was really working on, and instead used different terms to define them to fulfill the Soviet mandate. So they use words like objectives, through lines of action. So it really was kind of taking the spontaneity of Stanislavsky's work and making it a very, I wouldn't even say socialist isn't the right word. Communist isn't even the right word. Totalitarianistic understanding of something ephemeral and very human and making it structured and regimented. And one of the acolytes, after Stanislavsky died, there was a number of teachers of his work, but this one guy said that all he had been trained was action. The struggle always to find action, action, action. And he said, and because of that, I knew everything. I knew how to diagram my lines. I knew to write the action here and do then the action there. And he said going on the stage wasn't interesting or exciting or any kind of discovery. It was always about playing what he knew. So I don't know if you're as excited about that as I am, but I'm working on another book right now about, did everybody fall asleep? Because I fell asleep when I was reading Stanislavsky in college, but now it's like a full circle moment because we do contend with these words that have been used in a way that aren't the real intention of their translation. So that's what I find interesting. So the truth is kind of coming out. So what he was interested in, which is what we're always exploring, is where do you meet yourself in the work and allow yourself to go deeper in exploring why you are, who you are, where you are, what is the story you want to tell, and then in so doing, you will reveal character. And getting away from these didactic, two-dimensional, binary terms like super objective, objective, the structure of the scene. Analysis I always call it analysis paralysis as a joke. Analysis just means we understand what we're talking about. We understand the situation. We understand the circumstances. We understand the relationship. But it's not telling you how to play it. It's not saying on this line, I'm fulfilling this action. That's where we had a divergent from the true spirit of what Stanislavsky was talking about and sort of the academic overtaking And I get it now. I never really understood. Now I understand it. If it's based on a government that's trying to, anything that was about personal freedom was considered dissident. So of course it would be quashed. So of course textbooks want to reflect the falling in line, a certain way of doing it. You guys, there is no certain way of doing it. I want you to keep freeing yourself up to your way of doing it, your way of doing it, your way of doing it, even if it's scary, your way of doing it, even if we don't trust ourselves that we can be simple, your way of doing it, even if you're meeting yourself in the work and it feels like, oh, I don't know how to be sexual or allow myself to get angry or, got it? So these are always great reminders, and I found that really inspiring. So any questions about any of that?
Those terms came from Stanislavsky specifically. That's where in the history books that's where it's written.
Yes, but not how he described it. Yes.
Interesting.
Yes.
So they use those words.
It was co-opted to mean something else. Yeah.
Wow, it's a hide.
Yeah.
So,
She doesn't do, I'll have to find other sources. She doesn't do a deep dive of, at least so far in this chapter that I read, but like, in other words, if he was talking about finding your, I'm just making this up, how is your soul affected by what you hear in the scene, then that might have been translated to find your objective in the scene. I don't know, I'm just making that up, but that's basically what she's saying, is that all of a sudden, sort of again, how do we translate something that is untranslatable into something structural? That we're always going to have to do that in acting, because if I'm on set with Jamel, I'm going to have to tell Jamel, do it again, and can you be more fill in the blank? And he will understand that because we're speaking a language of the art form. I get it. However, we don't give enough space for the margins of error. We don't give enough space for, well, this is my instinct in the moment. We don't give enough space for the spontaneity of what the unknowability, which is what I'm constantly driving you guys toward more, which is scary. I get it. So, okay, makes sense? Good question.
what words can we replace?
I don't know. Why do we have to have words? Ooh. Words are defining, words are labeling, words are marginalizing, words other people, words, why do we need words? We have enough words. Why can't it be more experiential? How about this? I felt, I feel, I don't want to go, when I feel this, instead of making it be a sort of reductive, Tyler.
Yeah, no, I love it.
Yeah.